Hi, welcome back. This is Josh, and I'm still reading Thrawn. So that's the intro out of the way. And I'll admit I haven't read too intently this week. I was really hoping to get to a move on because the last chapter really got me interested with Arinda Price and Thrawn getting an interaction of some note. And I was eager to get into it, and I've been delayed this week. I've had odd jobs here and there that have just meant that I haven't been able to focus in on the book. But when I have, didn't really I didn't really feel like it was important what I was reading. It was interesting, but it wasn't important. It was like going off the main plot and going to a side story. And while the side story may come out to be important later on, right now it feels like it's as if Timothy Zahn has said, oh yeah, we need to tell you about this thing, so let's just go here and explain this, and then we'll come back. So I'll elaborate. The idea is that Thrawn and Vanto are back on the ship. They're just basically dealing with insurgencies, the general Imperial Navy stuff. And Thrawn has requested he's requested to go planet side for a dispute between two factions, the Safari and a set of human colonists. I've got my little notes on paper today. And the Safari leader's name is Joko, and the human colonists, the two of note, we've got Maya Bashal and Tanu. Now, I'll explain their roles momentarily, but the idea is that Thrawn, from the previous chapter when we were with Yularen, has connected the dots that maybe what is happening is there is, I won't say a plot, but the idea is the Night Swan wants to try and distract the Navy, try to drain its resources, that way it can slip in the cracks. And Thrawn believes that this is one of the attempts to do this. He also believes that Night Swan has deliberately orchestrated this, that Thrawn will be there. So he's well aware that he wouldn't say he's walking into a trap, but he's well aware that Night Swan has allowed him to know that this is happening. So it's quite an interesting scenario that is set up, but I wouldn't exactly say it thrilled me, because it felt like an episode of The Clone Wars where, yes, it's a good episode, it's a good arc, but equally it doesn't serve a larger purpose. It's like in season 1 when they had an arc where I think it was Aayla Secura, Anakin was injured, Ahsoka was with them, and it was the idea of they were on a planet with like giant trees and little not rodent creatures, like squirrely type creatures. I can't remember what they're called. So it reminds me of one of those episodes where you've got just basically colonists. And it wasn't bad by any stretch. The conflict itself was interesting how Thrawn resolves it, but equally I wasn't drawn in. The idea is you're immediately presented the human colonists, Maya Bashal and Tanu. And Bashal, he gets one, maybe 2 lines of dialogue in the entire 2 chapters. And Tanu gets 1 line, but it's like reading the book and you know who the murderer is straight away. As soon as I read Tanu, he was the only one trying not to stand out, so therefore he stood out. And I think that was part of the point, even though both Thrawn and Vanto concurred that 3 others, who I'm not mentioning here because they don't pop up again, they were involved in the conspiracy. So yeah, it's a little bit weird. It's as if Zahn was trying to create a double bluff by saying, oh, we're going to make you think it's him, but then he forgot the double. So he just said, oh yeah, it's him. So yeah, it was a very weird start to the chapter. Well, I won't say it was a start. We've already had the intro with Vanto and Thrawn. I'll admit that, I'm going back to that for a second, so I did miss one thing. I enjoyed the interaction between Vanto and Thrawn, in that Vanto is now being a little bit resentful that he's an ensign. Thrawn addresses him as such, well done, ensign, and he doesn't really like it. It's as if he's saying, I shouldn't be an ensign, and that will play a part later on, so I thought it was worthwhile bringing that up. But yeah, the idea is Thrawn, Vanto, and the Imperials then go to the Safani group and they speak to Joko. Now, I've said it before, I listened to it on the audiobook as well, and I have got to admit, Joko's voice acting, whilst unique, was absolutely irritating. He was written a bit like the Techno Union people, but with more of a I can only describe it like a synthesizer thrown in the sense that it felt so grating on the ears that I really wish there hadn't been that many lines of dialogue for him, but he played a big part in these chapters. So, yeah, it was really irritating. Anyway, it becomes quite apparent that the Safani are the natives of the land. They are the ones being aggressed. The colonists are basically invaders. So Thrawn essentially sets up a defense. He says, right, we're going to just go and position ourselves on the item of value, which turns out to be crops. I'll explain that in a minute. So they position their base there. He tells this Joko to go to the cities and protect his people, get them out of the cities. He's also given the stormtroopers so that it's just Thrawn and Vanto waiting by the crops. And that's pretty much how the chapter ends. It's there's a little bit of cat and mouse in the sense that both factions have spilled blood. And both factions have been aggressors in the sense that whilst the humans struck first, the Safani have also retaliated. So Thrawn advises that in this instance, it'll be the humans will attack, the Safani can defend, but should not counterattack. So that was clever tactics, in the sense of, right, if you go and be aggressors, then you're not going to look good when I'm to file my report. So it was interesting. I don't know how much it's going to come to good, but it was interesting. So yeah, Thrawn was thinking it through well. Anyway, that's pretty much the first chapter of these two, because, like I say, not a lot happened. And then the next chapter begins, and the idea is the human colonists are coming to collect the crops, essentially, or collect the harvest of the crops. Now, it's not necessarily the crops that's the harvest, but it's what's beneath them in they call it the stem, but I was visualising it as a root. And inside the root, it's essentially drugs before they're drugs. So I don't know enough about illegal substances, I'll admit, to put this in real world context, but imagine that there is something in heroin that is legal, but before you burn it or you do something to it and it makes it heroin, then that is what we're dealing with. So it's basically a pre-spice, they called it. And yeah, I found it quite an interesting little idea, because I thought, okay, spice hasn't really been mentioned up to this point, so Night Swan has definitely got his fingers in a few pies. And yeah, the idea was, it was Thrawn and Vanto pretty much versus 12, and before anything else happened, Thrawn commissioned I wouldn't call it an entourage. He basically summoned the troops from this from the fleet above the. I've forgotten what his ship's called. The Thunder. What is it? Bear with me, folks. The Thunder Wasp. Okay, that wasn't embarrassing at all. So yeah, he summoned reinforcements from the Thunder Wasp. He got 3 TIE fighters and two or three troop transports. So it was quite heavy reinforcements, but they wouldn't be there for about 20 minutes, and by that time they could be done. So Thrawn basically soloed it. He gave the order for Vanto to shoot when he knew that the time was right, which Vanto sort of like, it feels like a cliche how he said it, like, when do I know how to shoot? And it was like, really? It's like the pronoun game. Why not just say, when I've done this, you shoot? But instead it's like, no, you work it out. And I have underplayed this as well, but in the 2 chapters, Vanto has been observing much more effectively. He's been learning what Thrawn sees. So there has been that progression. It has been a case of Thrawn's been watching, noting this progression and actually saying, well done, you've actually seen this. And even if Vanto's maybe not got it bang on, he's essentially said, oh no, you're sort of there, don't discredit yourself. So again, I like the development between these two, even though Vanto's pretty much still, he's sort of hanging around, he doesn't want to be there, he's still picking things up, which I do like. So yeah, just going back to the idea, it was the idea that Thrawn basically flanks the human colonists. He takes out their exit strategy with the speeders. He takes cover behind them. The colonists sort of flank on him or push him, trying to take him out, I'm guessing, and it leaves a group of them open to stun attacks from Eli Vanto at range. So Vanto takes about 6 of them out. They realise they're being taken out from behind, so they turn around to take Vanto out, and then Thrawn finishes them off. So yeah, I wouldn't say it was a solo, but it was close to a solo. Pretty much that was Thrawn's baby of a move. Anyway, the idea is that it was Tanu who was behind it all, no surprises. And he was trying to escape on the speeder, but they stopped him. He tries to play the innocent card of, oh, you know, they forced me to do it, they forced me. And then Thrawn basically says, no, they didn't. I thought it was a little bit easy how he caved, but he basically said, you're smart, aren't you? And I was like, okay, you know, I'm hearing this a lot. It's funny when characters basically back down. You know, I'm thinking, really? You're not going to just play the card a little bit longer? So you Thrawn caved a little and went, ooh, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, never mind. So the idea is, they find out, Thrawn and Vanto, that this pre-spice isn't illegal. And because they haven't got any other pretense to arrest them, they're going to get away with it. So what can they do? And the simple answer is destroy the pre-spice. So one of the TIE fighters, he called the actual pilot down, Lieutenant Gim, who's just joined the Thunder Wasp's crew. And he says, right, here's a signal for where the pre-spice is. It's like not in a straight line, but it's dotted around. Can you follow it and destroy it? Well, actually, he doesn't destroy it, but, you know, that's the idea. The TIE fighter marks it on the ground, and the Thunder Wasp follows and destroys it from above. So it does create a bad reaction with Joko, because essentially they've destroyed a lot of, I wouldn't say architecture, but a lot of the surrounding area by doing so. Thrawn's logic is, well, we've destroyed the pre-spice, so now the colonists will have no reason to return and you'll be safe. But that didn't wash well. And not to mention, when Vanto meets Thrawn back on the ship, Vanto admits that the Imperial officers are once again going to give him a telling off. And this one sounds like a bad one. So, yeah, Vanto leaves Thrawn alone. Vanto's quite disillusioned, believing who wants to hear the truth? No one does, which I think is quite valid in this story. And he bumps into Lieutenant Gim, the TIE fighter pilot, where it's revealed that he is one of the cadets who attacked Thrawn and Vanto in the early chapters. So, if anything, that also shows progression as far as, you know, we've gone on a little bit. But it also does show that Thrawn was right. They did make good TIE fighter pilots. And also, it proved that Thrawn was right, that they wouldn't discover Thrawn was behind it, because he suspects it was one of his parents or Dean Locke who got him the TIE fighter position instead. Thrawn was behind it. So I like that as a little payoff. I thought, okay, that's a good way of bringing this guy back and, you know, just posing a little bit of a challenge to Vanto, because that is essentially what is happening here. Vanto is now getting fed up of being an ensign. So I'm guessing there will be a point when he has to choose definitively. Is he happy forever being an ensign, or does he want more? And I feel the point where he wants more is coming. But whether he takes the opportunity or not, I don't know. But I'm curious which road he takes, because I get the feeling if it's written right, he could take the wrong road and Thrawn would still welcome him back to an extent. I don't consider Thrawn to be overly forgiving, but I do think he's logical. So if he understood the reasons for Vanto defecting, if they were misguided, I think he would be willing to turn the other cheek, as it were. But again, maybe I'm misreading Thrawn. Also, maybe I'm misreading Vanto. Maybe he'd stay loyal to Thrawn. After all these chapters, you'd expect it, but you never know. So, that's where I'm up to. And I haven't said this already, but I'm going to finish this series with Thrawn. I'm calling it a series. It's basically just one series. But the simple reason is I haven't had viewership for the series. So it's taking 20 minutes out of me evening, one night a week, just to do this video, not to mention reading the book and editing, whereas I could just be reading the book. So if you are enjoying the series, I really need you to shout out and to let me know, because I can't just do this video for myself. And you know, if anything, I'm wasting a chance to put a video out that someone would enjoy on another topic. So, like I say, if you're enjoying this, please shout out somehow because I need to know now. Otherwise, it's going by the time I finish the book. So, with that in mind, thank you very much for watching, and let me know you've been watching. See you, folks. Bye. Do 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 do. Yeah.